Hello and welcome to your Astro forecast for the week of November 17th through the 23rd. I'm Michelle Shea Walker, and this is your glass half full perspective on the week ahead. If you're a paid subscriber or if you tipped your reader this week, be sure to stick around until the end of the video to see if you won the personal reading drawing. And if you are watching this on YouTube, welcome back. If you've been wondering where these forecast videos have been, for the past, I believe, 4 weeks, I've been doing audio versions of this podcast. So know that Substack is where the bulk of the action is happening. So if you haven't subscribed over at michelleshewalker.substack.com to get email alerts or to be able to access these readings in the Substack app, you may want to do that, especially as we move into the winter months and the Northern Hemisphere, because the earlier it gets dark, the more likely I am to be doing the audio recording as opposed to the video recording. Even today, I'm working with a bit of a ring light and some limited light that's going down, but I did want to check in with a video recording so that the YouTube participants would know that I am still around. I am still giving these readings on a weekly basis, but they may not all end up over on YouTube because only the video post automatically import over on that channel. And this is, of course, for my Glass Half Full channel on YouTube. I also have a home decor channel on YouTube that's called Home Half Full. And those videos live on YouTube and sometimes make an appearance on Substack. So just know that they start here. The Astro Tarot readings start here on Substack. And if they make their way over to YouTube, it's kind of like bonus content. But if you're wanting to make sure that you do not miss out on any of the week's forecast, become a Substack subscriber. You can subscribe for free, and if you decide to upgrade later, you can become a part of the weekly reading drawings at the end of these videos. So I just want to get that out of the way since I am using the video element today, and it may be a while before I do so again. Hello, welcome back. Good to see you. Good to be seen. I haven't been doing video forecasts because it has just been kind of getting dark early, and it's just been nice to not be trying to beat the sun to get these readings recording and do them when I'm feeling grounded and centered. And that's usually after like 3 or 4. It's not super late, but in the winter months that gets dark. So we will have cozy audio for sure and occasionally video, but I have been noticing that there's more of you downloading the audio posts as opposed to the video posts. So maybe that's the preferred method. If you have a preferred method, you can comment below. But know that a lot of it is going to be dictated not necessarily by preference, but just by necessity as I have less daylight. So we are diving into this month, and it is this week, excuse me. And it's a lot. And I'm going to tell you now, this is one of these weeks that I'm not going to mention every single thing that happens in the astrology because it would just be overwhelming for me and for you to try and describe all of the movements that are occurring in the planets. So we're going to focus on the big main ones that are happening throughout the week. And if there's not a big bold-faced occurrence of astrology happening on a particular day, I'll kind of pick and choose what my intuition calls me to talk about, because there's like 3 or 4 planetary things happening almost every day of this week. And I do not want to talk about all of those things because we're going to lose focus. So I want us to be able to focus. We're going to zero in on stuff. We're going to still utilize the cards, which are going to tell us kind of the energy of the day. And we're going to dive in. So starting with Monday, no boldface astrology happening, but the thing that I'm feeling called to talk about is a couple different supportive energies. The sun is trine Saturn. So our sense of self and identity is in a supportive, lucky meetup in the same element as Saturn, the planet of our life lessons and sort of growth. So that's the wee morning hours on Monday. Depending on where you are in the world, it might even be happening late Sunday night. But it is going to influence what's happening on Monday, which means that we have a very supportive energy for letting life's lessons inform who we are and who we identify as now. So it's a good day to kind of evaluate if there's parts of your identity that you identify as that don't actually reflect the lessons that you've learned and the growth that you've experienced over the course of your life. And there might be some old stories that you're telling yourself that we're working to redefine. Likewise, there also might be an opportunity for more learning and growth and expansion and learning life's lessons. And that's coming forward with our card of the day, which is the Hierophant. So the Hierophant is a marker of higher learning, whether it be higher learning on like a collegiate level or higher learning on a spiritual level. But it's about teachers and teaching. And so, depending on where you're at in this process of lessons versus identity, you might be seeking out a mentor or a teacher to kind of help you really integrate these lessons that you've learned into a new version of you. Or it could be that you're feeling really secure with that combination of energies and you're being called to be a teacher or a mentor to someone else. So, you're going to know pretty quickly which one of those two things resonates for you. If you feel like you're kind of like in your power and like owning your lessons and owning your new identity, then open yourself up to be a teacher or mentor. And sometimes this looks classic, like you are in a classroom teaching people or you're a coach and you're working with clients. And sometimes it looks more subtle, where maybe you're not even necessarily personally interacting with the people that you are teaching or mentoring, but you're posting something online that people can find and learn from. This could be about just putting the lessons you've learned out there in the world and trusting that they will find the audience that they're meant to, that you may never have to meet. So basically, what have you learned up until this point in your life? How does that resonate with how you identify with yourself? And is there anything that you can share with those around you, whether it be people that you know or people that you may never meet? So that's coming forward along with a Mercury sextile Pluto. So Mercury is currently retrograde, but the planet of communication, and Pluto, the planet of sort of generational change. So this also kind of resonates really well with sort of this mentor energy and like embodying the seat of the mentor, because it does kind of feel like communicating your life lessons could potentially reach younger generations that need to hear them so that they can help to create further change in the world. So if you have any sort of like wise old mentor, crone, whatever you want to call it, energy happening in your life right now, let someone show up and learn those lessons from you. Because even if they seem small, they're important. If they made a shift in your life, they could potentially make a shift in someone else's life. And the more that you can offer those lessons to the world, the quicker that other people can potentially reach the place that you've reached. So like think of it as like saving other people from all the trial and error that you experienced to learn these things. And the more that we can learn and grow quickly as a society and keep expanding, the better society as a whole can become. So don't be afraid to show up in the seat of the teacher if that calls to you. But if that feels really uncomfortable, don't be afraid to seek out teachers or mentors that are going to help you to really fully embody the power of the lessons that you've learned. That's Monday. Tuesday, two bold-faced big astrology things happening. One, the sun is conjunct Lilith. So, sorry, nose itching. The sun is conjunct Lilith, and that means that our sense of identity is magnifying. The sun is always magnifying whatever it's conjunct. So this could technically be a Lilith Kazimi, is a term that we use whenever the sun is conjunct a planet. Lilith is sort of lesser asteroid type energy, but still, like I think it can still technically be termed a Kazimi. So Lilith Kazimi is basically the sun is now magnifying and shining a light and just making bigger the energy of that planet, or in this case, asteroid, which is Lilith. So Lilith is our dark feminine energy. It's the energy that is unapologetic about showing up in full power and not in a people pleasing state, and letting the world know, kind of echoing off of Monday's energy, the lessons that we've learned. And it's very much resonant with a time in a woman's life, which would be around like the early, mid, late 40s, when perimenopause starts to happen, and the energy kind of becomes of transition, in that biologically the purpose of childbearing is no longer relevant. And so then there's this transition into something greater and bigger, and more for the self, and also more for the greater good. And so it gets really esoteric when we talk about Lilith energy and embodying the dark feminine, but it's important. But just know that it's not dark feminine, shadow self. Sometimes I call it the dog and the wolf energy. That wild energy isn't necessarily mean or evil or bad. We're not embodying uh, an energy that doesn't care about others when we're in Lilith, or we're in the wolf. We are embodying an energy that cares more about the truth than about pleasing others. That's what it is. So it's not so much that we're purposely being malicious or being, evil to the people around us or the world around us. It's about not trying to water down our energy and our truth just so that other people can find it more palatable. So that's what's happening on Sunday. So big energy for being able to show up in the world as your just biggest, baddest self. And both of those energies are in Scorpio. This is a very, very Scorpio heavy week as we move towards the transition into Sagittarius season. It's like this big bang that's happening for all the Scorpio energy. So I want you to definitely be mindful of where Scorpio is in your chart. Where is the house placement? Do you have any planets in Scorpio? I have a Scorpio stellium, which means I have at least 3 planets in Scorpio. So that energy does come forward really strong for me. And the energy of Scorpio is that of sort of the mystic and the psychic and the underbelly of society. It doesn't necessarily have to be like woo-woo stuff. It can be stuff that's just more taboo, like sensuality and fetishism and things that society like kind of gets uncomfortable with. Again, shadow energy, very Lilith appropriate. So Lilith being in Scorpio, conjunct the sun in Scorpio, is very much being okay with what the outside world might term the darker parts of our personality. But again, that doesn't mean mean or evil. The darker parts just mean commonly misunderstood. It's the stuff that's underneath the rock that we don't examine very often as a society. And because we don't examine it and we don't understand it, it makes us uncomfortable when it shows up in an unapologetic way. So I hope that I'm clarifying this a little bit, because I am getting a little read on the energy that like some people are a little confused about dark feminine or shadow self energy. It's not good versus evil when we talk about light and shadow. It's commonly accepted, palatable. Again, palatable is the best word that I have for it. Like easily digested, easy to, like, spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down, versus the stuff that isn't for everyone. That's a great way to put it. So if we talk about it in the terms of taste, Lilith is the acquired taste of our personality. It's the parts of ourselves that isn't for everyone. But if it's absolutely authentic to us, we need to learn to accept it and present it to the world anyway. So like, think of like your energy as like a really elite chef that's going to put whatever they want on their menu because it's their restaurant. And the people can show up and order it, or they can not order it. They can like it or they can not like it. But like, it's your restaurant. And so your energy showing up in light and shadow is your restaurant. You're putting on the menu what it is that resonates and is true for you. And people can choose to eat it or they can choose to not eat it, but that is their choice. And you're still going to show up and make the food that you want to make, if that metaphor works for anyone. So that's one of the things that's happening on Tuesday. We also have Mercury moving back into Scorpio because we have Mercury retrograde right now. So Mercury is moving back into the previous sign. And again, very Scorpio heavy energy this week. So our planet of communication is also flowing with this sort of less palatable, acquired taste, shadowy, darker parts of ourselves. So, like, it's a good time to communicate these things to the world as well. And I think this is also calling back to Monday. There's someone that needs you to show up in this learned, self accepting, less palatable, acquired taste version of you so that they can see that it's okay to be that. So it feels very sort of like a mother-daughter energy vibe, or like a mentor, and like it's I'm getting very feminine energy from it regardless of your gender. But think of it as the metaphor as the mother-daughter, and that the daughter learns how to be a woman based on how the mother shows up in the world. And so someone in your life, whether it be an actual daughter or otherwise, is looking to you to figure out how to embody all aspects of their femininity. And if you are uncomfortable with the shadow aspects of your own femininity and you're not showing up with the full menu, they're going to learn that from you. Again, whether they're your relative or not, it could be someone that you never even met is watching you from afar and taking mental notes. So for the good of the feminine energy of the world, show up with your full menu unapologetically, make what you want to make, and the people can choose to order it or not, but own the fact that it's your restaurant and you want to put it on the menu because you like the taste of everything that you're creating. Okay, the card of the day also feels kind of fitting. It's the Judgment card reversed. And immediately I'm getting a very sort of literal interpretation off of this, and that there's an alert happening that's confirming this. The judgment should be sent back to the world is kind of what I'm getting from this. A lot of times when this card turns upside down, I say it's turned inward, but immediately I was like, we're reversing the judgment. We're sending judgment back to from whence it came. So this is not a day to accept or worry about the outside world's judgment. Again, it's such a cliche for a reason because it's true. What people think of you has very little to do with you and so much more to do with them. So anyone that's judging you is judging themselves in some way. There's some aspect of that you're presenting to the world that they recognize as a denied part of themselves or a part of their shadow selves that they're not ready to embody. And it makes them uncomfortable, and it's easier to judge you than it is to admit that they judge themselves. So do not mind what other people are going to think. Do not mind the outside world's judgments. You show up in unconditional love for all parts of yourself. And again, they can order it off the menu or they don't have to. But their judgment has more to do with what they feel about themselves inwardly than what they even need to feel about you. It's not about you. They're seeing something in you that reminds them of something in them that they are uncomfortable with. That's Tuesday. Wednesday, the one day that we just have one thing happening in the astrology, Mercury is opposite Uranus. So our planet of communication that just moved back into Scorpio is in opposition of the planet of change and transformation. So I've said this before, when this type of energy comes forward, it may not be the best day to try and pitch something to someone or and again, Mercury is retrograde as well, so that it gets a little funky communicating in general. It may not be the best day to try and convince someone of what you want to change in your life, in the world, or whatever on this particular day. So Wednesday, take a break from trying to tell the outside world anything. Like, you know your truth. Let that be enough. You don't have to change anyone else's opinions on Wednesday because it's probably not the best environment for it. It is, however, a good environment to surround yourself with the people who unconditionally love you and the community that you've created for yourself. So this day isn't about kind of like pushing against the people that like don't find you palatable. It's more about embracing the people that you are what they're going to order off the menu. So it's a good day to get together with the community, reconnect to friends. It's a good day for gratitude, to let the people in your life that are important to you know that they're important to you. And this isn't normally what this card means, but I am getting a little like whisper of like, make a wish. Like, if you can get together in like a really good vibe with your community, or have like a really good day hanging out with your family or hanging out with your friends, or even just being in your own space and like feeling good. Again, it's less about the outside world and trying to convince them of anything or connect to people outside of that inner circle. But there is sort of like a good manifesting energy from this of you've connected to what feels good in your life and you can ask for or wish for more of that. So that's also there. That also makes sense as I look ahead because the Scorpio new moon happens at 12:46 a.m. on Thursday. So I think what I'm feeling with the Make-A-Wish energy on Wednesday is kind of a precursor to the energy that's coming forward very early in the day on Thursday, which is new moon energy, which is all about being able to manifest. So again, heavy on the Scorpio energy this week. I love a Scorpio new moon. Scorpio new moon is where I felt like I had my witch baby awakening. I like literally woke up one morning on the Scorpio new moon and could not stop doing research on YouTube and books about spells and rituals. And like, it was like this resurgence of, not even resurgence. It was like, I've always had kind of like a passive interest in all of that. And like, I woke up one day on a mission, and it was the Scorpio new moon when that happened. So very witchy vibes. Again, very much a Scorpio based energy to be a little witchy, to be a little countercultural, to be a little like the dark arts type energy. But also manifesting energy. New moons are always the times that we plant the seeds for what we want to see 6 months from now. So it's not, what do I want to say? Words. Mercury retrograde. It's not a eclipse. It's the word that I was looking for. It's not an eclipse. So green light for those manifestations. You could do it Wednesday night or Thursday at any time. Because again, it's happening so early in the morning on Thursday for Central Standard Time in America. For those on the West Coast, it's actually happening in the wee evening hours of Wednesday. So use either one of those, whatever works for your schedule. I always like to do moon work after the moon has actually transitioned into the thing. So I usually don't do it early. I'd much rather do it late. But during the day on Thursday is a really good time to make those manifestation lists. Do scripting. That's been coming up really clear for a lot of clients, a lot of people. I think it might have been in last week's reading as well, where you just sit down and you ask yourself, you can do it one of two ways. You can do it as just a straight journal entry, or if it's easier for you, you can imagine interviewing your future self. And that way, at least present self can be present in the interaction, and you don't feel like you have to fully be in the embodiment of the future self. But wherever you want to be 6 months from now, when the Scorpio full moon occurs, which I don't have in front of me in my notes, but 6 months from now, Scorpio full moon is going to happen. Wherever you want to be at that time, write it as if it's already, it's present day happened. Like whatever you want to achieve in the next 6 months, you're going to sit down and you're going to write out a story in the present tense of you waking up on the day of the Scorpio full moon and everything that you've created in your life and how it influences everything and how you feel about it all. And then the reason that it kind of gets helpful if you do an interview you're going to try and figure out how you got there, because it's not enough to just write the script, make the wish, and send it out into the universe. That's a big part of it. You do want to send it out there and release it, but you also want to like take agency over your future and recognize that there are things that you did to shift your everyday life to match what's coming 6 months from now. You can't expect to run a marathon 6 months from now and not put on a pair of sneakers and go for a run in between now and then. So think of it that way. Like, if 6 months from now you're running a marathon, what are you doing in between now and then to have that running a marathon be second nature? That's what we're going for. We're trying to alter our day-to-day lives so that when that future arrives, the things that we needed to have be second nature are second nature, because we've been rehearsing for the past 6 months by integrating things into our day-to-day life that mirror that future energy. And then you become a match to it and you call it in and it becomes magic. But you do have to do a little bit of work. So I want to put that out there. I'm getting a little whisper of like Hecate energy. So if you are kind of more of a magical witchy person, Hecate is a really great energy to work with around the Scorpio new moon. She's also great energy for baby witches if you're like wanting to get into that magical aspect of things. And she is also very, very much about discipline. So when Hecate shows up in a reading for someone, when I do the goddess cards, I a lot of times, not all the time, sometimes I'm all about magic when we talk about Hecate. But sometimes I'm like, you need to dedicate yourself to some sort of ritual or routine, because Hecate is like that school mom with the ruler. Like, she's there to support you, but like if you don't get the work done, she's going to like crack your knuckles. So think of it that way when we're doing these Scorpio new moon manifestations, that like there's a little bit of an energy of like, you got to get to work and you got to do it now or we're going to like slap your hand. The other thing that's happening on Thursday is a Mercury Kazimi. So I talked about with the Lilith conjunct the sun that could be potentially called a Kazimi. Mercury is conjunct the sun, and we do call that a Mercury Kazimi. So it means that the energy of the sun is magnifying the energy of that planet that it's just lined up with. So Mercury, currently retrograde, again, always putting that little asterisk at the end of it, because things do get a little funky, even with all this powerful energy going through Mercury and Scorpio and all of that. So Mercury in Scorpio, currently retrograde, is lining up with the sun and intensifying the energy. Worst case scenario, Mercury could be very retrograde on Thursday. So definitely plan for extra time to get to places. Make sure your communication's really locked down. Make sure your technology is really safe. Do those checks and balances just in case, because we are taking a retrograde planet and like putting it under a magnifying glass. But I also find that a lot of times, even when the planet is retrograde, when a Kazimi happens, it can kind of break through the fog a little bit of the retrograde energy. So you could find that things are a little bit easier, but it kind of just depends on like placements in your charts and the general vibe of things and what kind of energy you're calling into your life. So that's happening. And it could be a really good day to work with communication in regards to this sort of counterculture, dark feminine type stuff. Again, theme of the entire week. How can you show up and communicate to the world, this is who I am? And you may not like the taste of it. That's okay. You don't have to order it. But I'm showing up. I'm showing you that this is who I want to be. This is a part of me. And then you're going to weed out the people that want to eat at your restaurant. Because if someone doesn't like the taste of half the stuff on the menu, they may not be a regular in your life, in your restaurant, in your social life. I don't put the air quotes on the wrong thing. So yeah. What do you need to tell the world that you are feeling slightly afraid that they're going to reject you for? And again, coming back to that judgment card on Tuesday, they're not actually rejecting you. They're rejecting a part of themselves. So just share your truth and trust that your community will stick around and or find you. So if you lose people in your life by being all parts of yourself, the shadow and the light, and that feels daunting, trust that it's making room for something that that it's more people that are more willing to accept all parts of you. And that sometimes takes time. Sometimes there's a lull, a period of loneliness that happens during those transitions, but it will occur both physically and spiritually. You'll get some spiritual support coming in, and you'll also get some new physical community coming in as well. The card of the day with those big energies looming over us is the Eight of Pentacles reversed. So again, this is almost giving me a little bit of the energy from Wednesday where I said like it may not be the day to like share things with the world or like try to win people over with an argument of some kind. The Mercury Kazimi energy might be more about internal reflection. Actually, that scripting exercise is a great thing to talk about all of these energies because we had that Scorpio new moon that day and we have the Mercury Kazimi. So your communication powers are heightened. And then this card is about turning within and perfecting your craft, perfecting the story until you get it right. So this might be an element of you sit down to script your future and maybe you write a couple different scripts. Like keep going, like write one thing that you think you want and then kind of like clear the cache of your brain and be like, but what if it went this way? Like it's like the end of the movie Clue. We're going to be like, oh, here's one potential future and that sounds lovely. But what if it went this other direction that's also lovely? And like maybe you end up with 4 scripts in front of you and you choose which one you're focusing on reverse engineering. And it doesn't mean that you're not going to get all of the things that you're wanting. You might just get them at different times. And by writing all 4 of the scripts, you're going to feel the one that feels the most resonant and the one that you're most ready to take action on. And then you can put to the side the other stuff. Ooh, I love this actually. This is a great assignment. I'm going to do this myself, guys. This is awesome. You're going to write these 4 scripts. You're going to feel in your body which one you're ready to take action on. Because again, we're reverse engineering it. We're figuring out how you got there and we're starting to integrate daily steps in our lives. And because you're probably going to have some pretty big dreams in all these different directions, clearing away 3 of them for the next 6 months and focusing just on one is going to be so much better than half wishing for all 4 of them to happen. So focus on the one that has the best legs, the one that's ready to go now that you can start tomorrow with something that's going to help you get there. And put those other ones in a drawer somewhere. And then the next new moon, you can pull them back out. And maybe you do a new one as well. But like next new moon, you can pull out the 3 that you didn't look at. And you can ask yourself, okay, is there another thing that I want to try and script here? And then you can do the same thing again. This is going to be my new moon ritual, guys. This just dropped out of nowhere into my head based on the cards, based on the astrology. And I am loving this. If you are a manifest generator in human design like I am, and you have trouble picking a passion to focus on for a period of time, this is perfect. So I am going to utilize this. And if it resonates for you, please do as well. The Friday of it all, we have another 2 bold-faced astrology things happening. We have Mercury conjunct Lilith. So if you remember, we had Lilith conjunct the sun, we had Mercury conjunct the sun, and now those 2 planets have found their way to line up with one another, again in Scorpio. So communication, dark feminine. Are we noticing a theme here? If you have something about your unpalatable, acquired taste, darker feminine, resisting societal expectations, part of yourself that needs to be communicated to the world in some way, maybe because you're going to be a role model or a mentor or an influencer for someone, this is the week to do it. These 2 planets are lining up and they're supporting one another and they're intensifying one another. And then the sun is moving into Sagittarius. So we get the last gasp of like big Scorpio energy of the week with that Mercury and Lilith conjunction. And then at 7:36 p.m. Central Standard Time on Friday, that's when the sun moves into Sagittarius. So we are basically just like crash course cramming Scorpio energy into Monday till Friday at 7:30. And that is what this week is about. If it's about, again, the magic, it's about the darkness, it's about the occult, it's about the dark feminine, it's about being the wild wolf version of yourself. It's about all of these things coming together in this Scorpio energy with Mercury, with Lilith, with the sun, with something else. There's something else in Scorpio. What else is in Scorpio? Oh, the sun. Did I say the sun? And the moon, because we have the new moon in Scorpio. There we go. Sun, moon, Lilith, Mercury. All of those things in that scorpionic energy. If you are not familiar with Scorpio energy, I want you to go do a deep dive this week. I want you to find someone that either has a Scorpio sun or is a Scorpio stellium. Hi, come take a yoga class with me, do a coaching, do a reading with me, whatever. Go absorb some scorpionic energy and see how Scorpio energy leans into the unknown and kind of relishes it and wants to know more and gets curious about the darkness. A great example of this that just came forward in my mind. If you're a subscriber on Substack, you know this. I do a monthly newsletter. I just revamped the way that the newsletter happens, and it went out the day I'm recording this Sunday, but the day before this video is being released. And this week's monthly newsletter, I did a presentation of all the things that I'm loving. And I love this new format. I'm super excited about it. I can tell you guys are super excited about it. So it's going to be how I'm going to do it every month. And one of the things that I talked about, well, first of all, I talked about a lot of true crime stuff. Because again, Scorpio energy loves a little darkness and like examining what's underneath the rock. But the best embodiment of this sort of Scorpio stellium energy that I have is a book that I'm reading called The Devil You Know. And it's a book written by a psychiatrist. There was something that just like dropped down over the screen. Did anybody else see that? I think it was like a piece of like cat fuzz or something, but it kind of came through at an appropriate time. A little spiritual energy happening here. The Devil You Know is a book written by a forensic psychiatrist about the human underneath very dark crimes. And so that's where my Scorpio energy comes forward really strongly, that I'm not afraid to lean into darker subject matter because I'm so curious about the human elements underneath, like things like true crime or, even people that we make villains in our day-to-day life. I'm always curious about the human being that has got to that point. So that's the energy you are embodying. But if you have some Scorpio energy in your life that you can go pick their brain, hang out with, or just like spend the day with, do that at some point before Friday evening. Friday's card that I hadn't even gotten to yet is the Six of Swords reversed. So Six of Swords upright is we're moving away from like a challenging time. Six of Swords reverse could be that we're going backwards, and with a retrograde and a couple planets retrograde, that is possible. We're reviewing something that we thought we'd moved away from. It's not necessarily that we're like stuck in a loop and we're going back to the hard time, but it is a good day to sort of review where you're coming from. And I think that also might be part of that examining the Scorpio underbelly of things, of like what traumas and trials and tribulations created you. What got you to be the person that you are? Kind of like I was talking about with the criminal psychology of like examining how people got to be the darker side of themselves. Whatever state you are in today, what built you there? Mentally, physically, emotionally, psychologically. It's a good day to reflect on that. It also, I'm getting a little energy that it could be that there are some people in your life that you moved away from because sometimes it's because they're toxic, sometimes it's just because it's the end of a chapter and those people aren't meant to be in your community anymore, that might kind of come back around. Sometimes that happens during Mercury retrograde. You'll have exes or friends or people that you haven't heard from in years just suddenly be like, hey, how are you? How have things been? And want to reconnect. And because this is a swords card, it's also about boundaries. So it's your choice how much you put a boundary up with those past people, and you're just going to have to feel into your emotions on that. It's not going to be across the board right or wrong energy. Sometimes people that you moved away from because it was the right time to do so come back into your life at a time that it's good for you to connect to them. So just trust the cycles, trust your intuition, and that could be an element that's happening on Friday as well. Saturday, we get less bold-face astrology. We have Mercury square trine Saturn, so meeting up in a lucky alignment in the same element of the planet of communication and our planet of lessons. So beginning of the week, we had our sun trine Saturn, so our sense of identity and lessons. We are embodying the lessons that we've learned in life, letting people see us for the teacher, the mentor that we're meant to be. And then on Saturday, it could again reflect back on, we can communicate these lessons to someone. If you want to create, if you want to write a story, if you want to create a lesson plan, if you want to write a speech of some kind about your lessons. This feels very, I'm getting images of almost like a keynote address or like a graduation speech. So if there's something in your life that feels relevant for, that like you can like write down, that the graduation speech feels really resonant. Like if you watch any celebrity guest person at a graduation give, I'm specifically something that's coming forward is Nora Ephron does a graduation ceremony speech for, I think, her alma mater. And I think it's the only one that she does a graduation speech for. So if you want to look it up on YouTube, and it's basically like telling her life lessons. You know, it's the embodiment of what we're talking about this week, of taking the lessons you've learned in life and giving it to a younger generation or someone that just hasn't learned those lessons yet so that they can learn from your mistakes. And so that's the energy I'm getting from this Mercury trine Saturn. So if that's something that resonates for you, go down that rabbit hole. Or it could be that you are looking up graduation speech and keynote speeches and things like that, that you're getting more information from yourself. Mercury is also trine Jupiter in the evening hours that day. So planet of communication, planet of expansion. Again, just a good day to try and communicate stuff, but keeping in mind that Mercury is retrograde. This is a really challenging week to be like, ooh, you got so much to say, but people might misunderstand you a little bit. But also remember our lesson from Tuesday that people misunderstanding you is more about them than is it about you. So we have to have a really thick skin as we're communicating this stuff this week, but know that we are being encouraged to try to communicate something somewhere. The card of the day is the Eight of Swords, which indicates that there could be a situation that we're feeling like we need to move away from, but we feel a little stuck. And the Eight of Swords is always a message that we're never as stuck as we think we are. There's always a way out. It's just a matter of shifting your perspective to find the way out. Sometimes you have to sacrifice some stuff that you didn't think you wanted to sacrifice to get out of the situation, but you can get out. And so this person is blindfolded. They can't see that it's easy to get out because they don't have the power of sight. But if they could wiggle out of the ropes, take the blindfold off, there's a path right through the swords that they can walk through. So think outside the box if you're feeling stuck in a certain area of your life, because the way out might look different than you thought that it needed to. And you have to kind of like zoom out and broaden your perspective to be able to see the actual way out. It's kind of like a good metaphor is like the labyrinth of being stuck in like a labyrinth maze. And if you have a bird's eye view, you can see the way out, but you can't see it from down inside it. So zoom out a little bit and see if you can find a creative solution to extract yourself from a situation that doesn't resonate for you. The final day of the week is Sunday, obviously, the 23rd. And it's the sun sextile Pluto. So these are like lowercase astrology things happening. Sun is sextile Pluto. So there's a supportive little energy happening between our sense of identity and Pluto, the sort of generational grander scope of change. And there is a Mars square the North Node in the evening. So we kind of end the week with a little bit of like a red light. Like we've had a green light most of the week on a lot of different stuff. And then Sunday, we kind of take a pause. And it's not that we did anything wrong, and it's not that we're not going to continue moving forward eventually. It's just a red light. Like, it's going to turn green eventually, but like, don't run the red light is what I'm feeling. So it's kind of a reevaluating of things, which is what's supposed to happen when a lot of planets are retrograde. And the card of the day is also encouraging us to slow down, because the Five of Cups is about maybe being too caught up in what's not going right or what could go wrong rather than what could go right. So it just feels like, I mean, honestly, this just feels like take a break on Sunday. We've had a big week. So we deserve a little downtime. If you can unplug, if you can do some personal rituals, if you can stay home with your family and regroup and reframe your mindset towards gratitude and possibility, that's going to be what happens on Sunday. I don't get the feeling that this is like a big depression that's like dropping down over us all of a sudden on Sunday. It's just more like a burnout, like a potential burnout energy. Like, when you're like on the verge of burnout, and things start to feel impossible and things feel like they're going wrong. And if you just take a breath and take a break for like a day and step away, things start to feel better. That's kind of the energy I'm getting on Sunday. So that is our week of Scorpio heavy energy with a little magical manifestation on the Scorpio new moon happening. So please let me know if that multiple script exercise resonates for you. And I wanted to mention, this isn't like officially anywhere that you can sign up for it yet, but speaking of magic and manifesting, I am curating a group coaching program for the new year that's going to be several weeks, maybe even a couple months. I'm still finalizing the actual schedule of it, where we get together on a regular basis and talk about what you're trying to manifest in your life. So it's a group coaching program. It's going to happen online, so you can do it from anywhere. And I teach you methods of manifesting, things to do to shift your mindset towards being able to manifest quicker. We talk about your blocks. We talk about your hangups. We talk about your goals. We, as a group meeting together on the Zoom, all work to envision each other's futures to help strengthen that manifestation power. And it's just going to be a really fun time. It's based on a program, and it's probably going to name the same thing that I did years ago called Manifestation Friday Night. So it'll probably happen on Friday nights. If you're not about Friday nights and you want to have access to all the content, that will be an option as well. There will be recordings available of everything that we do. And that is, again, not ready for sign up, but I do want to kind of like tease it now because it feels relevant for these scripting exercises and for the new moon. And it will be ready sometime probably in December for early sign up. And if you are a paid subscriber, you are going to be the first people to know when it's up, and you're going to get an extra special discount as well. So if you've been thinking about becoming a paid subscriber so that you can get the personal readings at the end of the month, it's a good, like, this end of year time period is a good time to just like throw $5 at it and get a big savings on this new program. Yeah. And speaking of the paid subscribers, we're going to dive into the personal reading drawing. I saw a cat hair floating again. There's some witchy cat energy happening. So there we go. We're going to dive into our personal reading drawing. I'm going to say a big thank you to my regular paid subscribers, Caitlin, Amanda, Sonia, Tracy, Francis, Holly, and Jane. Jane, you got your reading last week, so you're not on the wheel this week, but we're going to see who wins. And I just want you to know that I appreciate all you very much for being here. Amanda, by a hair. It was almost off your name, but you got it. I don't think you've had a reading in a while, so that's pretty fitting. So congratulations, Amanda. If you feel called to stick around and you're not Amanda, that's probably a sign that your intuition is trying to tell you that something in Amanda's reading is going to resonate for you. So feel free to stick around, take what resonates, leave what doesn't. And Amanda, we're going to move my calendar out of the way, and we're going to give you a past, present, future. That's one. Whoop, that's two. Oh, it's on the floor. Hang on. Awkward reach. Oh, that was kind of fun. So that one landed in a certain direction, and when I went to pick it up, it spun. So I have it face down still, so I don't know if it's reversed or upright, but whatever it is, it wanted to be whatever direction it is now because I took it after the spin. And a future card. Whoa. All right. No, not on the floor. Okay, Amanda, and anyone else who's joining, we've got recent past card, the Four of Wands. We're creating structure, stability, maybe like social like connections as well. But more importantly, you've got some pillars happening that weren't necessarily there before. For those of you that don't know, Amanda was one of my home half full makeover participants. So this does feel maybe a little bit like getting the home office in order, but it also feels like there's a little more grounded energy. Like, I'm not necessarily thinking that you like need to drop anchor and put down roots where you're at, because I know you do have ambitions to kind of move around, but it feels like you're more anchored and grounded in your current location in the like because of the recent past. So because of shifting the energy in your home office, because of connections that you've made, there is a little more like making peace with where you are and like feeling a little more connected to your surroundings. So there's that. The present card is the Nine of Cups reversed. So the first thing I'm getting from this card is that it's a very autonomous energy that wants to come forward for this, in that you're still making it, because so first of all, it's a wish come true or a make a wish card. Like, this is what was coming forward with the Ten of Cups, even though the Ten of Cups, it doesn't mean make a wish. I kept getting images of this card, which does mean make a wish. So it's a good time for wishing, for manifesting. And because it's reversed, I'm getting a really strong message to like make sure you're making these wishes just for you, that you're not letting outside influences affect what your ultimate goals are. And I'm also getting that there might be kind of like a surprise with that, and that like if you let go of other people's expectations, like there's almost like a magical like meet you down the line energy. I mean, there's a specific thing that's coming forward for this that I'm sure that you're thinking of, but it feels broad. It feels very across the board. Anytime you're like, oh, I can't make this choice because of these people or this connection or whatever, like kind of get still and ask yourself, but does the choice resonate? And like it feels like something, like things are shifting in a really mysterious way, is what I'm picking up on. And so if you are following your true intuitive impulses, things that you didn't expect to fall into place and make connections with you are going to continue to fall into place and make connections with you. And I don't want to get too deep into that, because I feel like it's going to be a lot of unexpected stuff. So it's not necessarily like a through line of, we can say like, you do this and then X, Y, and Z follows. But it's like, it is kind of one of those like, stay true to you and trust that whoever's supposed to meet you later as you follow your path, like stay true to your path, and whoever's supposed to meet you down the line will meet you down the line. That's what I'm getting. So that's, keep that in mind during the Scorpio new moon energy. And then the near future is the Nine of Pentacles, also a very autonomous, self-focused energy. The reverse is kind of giving me pause for a moment. So let me just kind of sit with this for a little bit, because I don't think it's supposed to be what the first impulse that I would normally say for a reversed variation on this is. This feels career related. I mean, it's pentacles, so like it is career and money and stability, but it feels like specifically this near future is about it was there and then I lost it. Let me pull another card, because this feels a little fuzzy. Nine of Pentacles in general is like being okay with not having all 10 pentacles. You know, you feathered your nest well enough for yourself. It is a very sort of like single person's card. I mean, again, it doesn't necessarily have to mean that you have to be single to have that card come forward, but it is very much a card of focusing on you and kind of unapologetically focusing on you and your goals. Four of Swords. There's something about And again, I feel like the first couple cards felt like they were more like interpersonal relationships and maybe like your home life. This last one, these last two feel like they are related more towards career. And it's something about, I mean, definitely about tuning out the outside world and the expectations of what others expect of you, which is again just the theme from everything that we talked about this week. I'm getting that I think it feels hazy because there's something really mystical wanting to come through. So meditation is really important. I would say from this week of the new moon on, especially if you're manifesting things with your career, it just feels very much like you have to take that leap of faith. You have to be absolutely trusting of the uncertainty of a situation and just step forward anyway. And I think it's going to be really challenging. I'm not going to lie, because it does feel very, I mean, when I talk about leap of faith, I always get the image from the Indiana Jones movie where he has to step up the edge of a cliff and like his foot hits something that's completely invisible from his perspective, but it's solid and it's there. And it's just like, you have to just be okay with the fact that if you're like that, with the fear that if you're wrong, you're just going to plummet to your death. That felt really bad, but for the metaphor, like it's like he's absolutely trusting the idea that by stepping off the edge of this cliff, he is not going to plummet to his death. And so this feels very much that energy. And I think it's definitely going to feel uncomfortable. And it's definitely going to be all about you being really connected to you and your goals and your needs and your intuition. So again, make sure that you're not manifesting from a place of like trying to stay connected to any certain connections, trying to please anyone else in your life, and make sure that you're really heavily meditated, as one of my tank tops likes to say. Yeah, I would up the meditation game to daily basis if you aren't already, and preferably in the morning, because it feels like there's something about you being really, really connected to your intuition that's going to help you make a lot of choices in the coming days and in the coming, I'm getting 3 months. This is, yeah. Honestly, occasions like this, you're going to come out the other side of this and feel unstoppable, because you're going to see exactly what your intuition can do for you. But it's going to be real uncomfortable getting to that place of feeling unstoppable. Underneath the deck, we got more reminders to tune out the outside world. We got the Hermit card. Meditation. Absolute dedication to your own goals and autonomy. Trusting that anyone that's supposed to meet you down your path is going to meet you there, no matter what your decisions. And meditation. Did I say meditation? I think I said meditation. Yeah, stay connected to your intuition, because this feels big. And I know you. Thankfully, most of my paid subscribers are people that I've done several sessions with or in some way been connected to for a long time. So your intuition has really been busting open over the past several years. So you're being called to take it to the next level of trust. I want to pull you a goddess, because I'm feeling like someone wants to help from the Total Betting 90s goddess deck. I am getting a little like, maybe I don't think we're gonna pull this card, but Hecate is coming forward, which is why I wanted to pull a card. So if you want to work with Hecate as well, Artemis. Ooh, I love this. Nurture your becoming. So Claire Danes, My So-Called Life, very sort of like pubescent, becoming a new version of yourself that feels awkward and uncomfortable. And also I like this as like an element of, there is an element of Angela Chase of trying to be what other people in the world want her to be, dyeing her hair red when she starts hanging out with a new friend, shifting the way that she dresses or the things that she does to please a guy. Like there is an element of that adolescent type vibe of you don't know who you are yet, so you're being what other people want you to be. And I think this is going to be a little bit of what this moment in time kind of feels like, of using the lessons that you had to learn in adolescence about your identity and proving to the universe that you learned those lessons. Yeah. All right. That is our reading for the week. I have lost all my sunlight. Thank you for joining. And again, if you're watching this on YouTube, please join us over on Substack so that you can get the audio versions of these readings, because we might be taking a little bit of a video hiatus for the next several months. And I hope that you all have a wonderful, magical, darker, feminine, occult, magic based Scorpio week.